今回ですね、ストリートファイター、
If you look back at the history of Street Fighter, we had 1 and 2 and Alpha and 3. Basically, by the time we got to 3, we felt like in a lot of ways we had done what we needed to do with Street Fighter. We kind of felt like we may have reached the pinnacle. There might not be much more we could do with the series. That being said, there were a lot of voices within the company. Maybe we should do a 4, we should try this, we should try that. So the idea was definitely there, but we were faced with a real choice. Do we go from where the other games left off? Do we go for a similar type of game? Do we take it in an entirely new direction? There's a lot of debate inside the company, and that's really why it never moved beyond the idea phase. However, when it came to the anniversary of the series itself, we're looking at the 20-year anniversary now, Mr. Inafune, who is really high up in R&D now at Capcom, he said, you know what, it's the anniversary, maybe it's time to do something. And that's how the whole thing started, and that's how we've gotten to where we are now with the current game.
まずですね、一番最初に出した墨絵っぽいこの絵っていうのはですね。
The trailer really served two purposes. First of all, was to get the message across to the fans that there was a new Street Fighter game, and that the art style was going to be very painterly and very artistic, and not the standard realistic game. And the other purpose it served was actually to guide the R&D team and to give them sort of idea of the direction we wanted to go with this title. If you look at other games that are out right now, a lot of games that we put out, that other companies put out, there's definitely a trend toward very realistic graphics. We could have done that. Capcom certainly has technology and the know-how to do that. But if you look back at the history of the Street Fighter series, it's always very much been about the design and the art. All the Street Fighter character paintings and designs have always been really cool looking. And even back in the 2D era, the sort of overarching thematic idea behind the artwork has been to have moving paintings on the screen, even back when we were using dots and pixels. When it comes to using the ink effects in the game or not using ink effects in the game, we certainly thought about putting more of it in, but really we have to remember that it is a fighting game, and if there's too much stuff going on the screen, it would just be difficult to play, so we have to strike a balance. It has to be clear to the user what's happening, but it has to look cool as well. So if you play this latest version, you'll see that there is a bit of that in there, and we'll probably increase it here and there, but we certainly don't want to take away from the game itself. That's the last thing you want to do.
新しいキャラクターも古いキャラクターもですね、今回AOU のバージョンではですね、
If you look at the character select screen in this AOU version, you'll notice there's 8 characters on top and 2 at the bottom. I'm sure you know that Capcom has enough design sense to not have such a horribly unbalanced screen. I'll say that much, so certainly something's going to go down there. As far as specifics, if there's going to be new characters, more old characters, I can't tell you too much right now. What I can say is that right now as we speak, there's a location test happening in Japanese arcades. We're going to use a lot of the data there, a lot of the feedback there to decide on if we should put more new characters in, if we should put more old characters in, how many of each. These are decisions that have yet to be made. Once we know a good direction to go that way, we'll aim for the summer release, and you'll have a much better idea in the coming months of exactly how that's going to shape up. Actually, I'm not sure if I should be saying this in an interview or not, but I'm just going to go ahead and say it. We're definitely exploring all possible avenues. If this means we have to use other companies aside from Capcom, other methods of getting this out to arcades, in Asia, in Europe, in America, we're certainly willing to do that. I'm working on this right now. As long as the higher-ups are okay with it, we might indeed see it in some way, shape, or form. It might not be directly from us, but we certainly don't want to disappoint fans. We recognize it's a big world out there, and arcades are still there, and maybe we can do our part to bring them back.
はい、家庭用に関してはですね、もう今僕ら開発チームはですね、もう夏
Let me preface this by saying that right now we've definitely got our hands full getting the arcade game finished up. So we're not really at a point where we can talk too much about home conversions. What I can say is we're certainly on the path to getting as many people to play the game as possible. It's certainly our goal. So for what it's worth, we may indeed see some sort of movement in that direction. Certainly if the fans want it, if they let us know, then we're definitely ready and willing to to fulfill those requests. What I can tell you as far as any possible online functionality is concerned, right now in the arcade version, we actually have a feature where arcades can communicate. Machines in one arcade can communicate with machines in other arcades. So for a home version, a natural evolution of that would be to have individuals play with each other, right? We definitely like to do that, but what we'd like to do is take a slightly different approach than what you've seen until now. And what I mean by that, this might be a little vague, but let's think of chess for a moment. It's the same game, the same rules, but there's lots of ways to play chess. You have casual people playing chess in the park. You have high-level players, televised ESPN tournaments and things like that. So a lot of ways to play chess, a lot of different levels. We think that Street Fighter is the same way. So what we need to concentrate on, if and when we do online functionality for a home version, would be to allow these different layers, these different skill levels to be separate. And really kind of get the community nice and strong around the game. So there's definitely a lot of ideas being bounced around. Unfortunately, I can't talk too concretely right now, though.
まず10年間お待たせしました。
Okay, first of all, I'd like to apologize to everyone for making you wait 10 years for the latest official numbered sequel. Or if you're one of the people that played 2 but not 3, I made you wait 15 years, so I'm sorry for that. And thank you for sticking with us. I just want to say that, I've produced some other titles, and whenever I do an interview, whenever I did interviews for those games, the last question was always, are you working on a new Street Fighter? When will you make a new Street Fighter? And my answer then was always, I'd really like to make it. And I wasn't just kidding, I really meant that. And now I've got the chance, and I want to thank you all because your questions, in no small part, helped to make this happen. So this game is most definitely for you, and it's for the players and for the fans who have supported us. Right now we're working on getting the arcade game finished by summer, and I'll be continuing to read the message boards and checking over email and listening to what everyone has to say, and we'll be adjusting things to the last minute to make sure it's the best game it can possibly be. So thank you so much for your support until now, and please look forward to playing this game. We're going to make it as good as possible, and your feedback is definitely an important part of that. Thank you very much.